endures as long as life endures, as long as life endures.
On behalf of the Ramil, Patterson, and Mauser families, I would like to welcome you to this celebration of Christina Patterson Mauser's life. We'd like to ask that you please silence your cell phones, and if you'd refrain from using them or taking any video during the ceremony, the families would appreciate that. Christina was proud to be a caring mother, proud to be a loving wife, proud to be a daughter, a sister and niece. She was also proud to be a talented teacher and coach, and finally, proud to be a Charger. As we reflect on Christina's untimely passing, I'd like for us all to take a moment and pass the peace to one another around you, and if appropriate, share your love for them. Let's take a moment and do that, please. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce for our opening prayer, Dr. Hans Fensel.
Good afternoon. My wife Donna and I have known Marty and Tita, Christina's parents, since before she was born. They were wonderful friends of ours when we were all newly married. I had the privilege 38 years ago to dedicate Christina to the Lord in our church in Long Beach when she was a baby. Our hearts are broken over what happened 3 weeks ago today. Words are really not adequate to express our sorrow. Let's pray. God, our Heavenly Father, God of all comfort, Lord, please provide a great comfort to the family and friends gathered here today. You promised in the New Testament, "Come to me, all ye who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." We pray especially today comfort for Christina's husband, Matt, their 3 children, Penny, Tommy, and Ivy, Matt's parents and extended family, as well as Christina and her extended family, her parents. And Lord, we pray for the families of Kobe and Gigi Bryant, Peyton Chester and her mother, Sarah Chester, Elisa Altobelli and her parents, John and Carrie Altobelli, and Era Zobayan. Lord, you said in the book of John, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though he dies. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, I would not have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, so you may be where I am." Finally, Jesus said, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me." Lord, we now trust into your presence, dear, sweet Christina, and bless this celebration of her life this afternoon. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Our first words of remembrance will come from Dave White.
would like to start off by saying what a wonderful job Christina's family did raising this beautiful young woman. She learned kindness, love, humor, tenacity, honesty from those who loved her. So many of her teammates have called me these past 3 weeks, telling stories, laughing and crying together. We have all enjoyed the picture of Christina sitting next to Kobe on the bench, leaning forward, yelling with the veins sticking out. And the girls have said that I used to do that on occasion. We took her sophomore year, we took a basketball trip, Christmas trip to Orlando. And we played, all my cousins live in Florida. So I didn't know it when we scheduled the trip, but when we got back there, we realized that my youngest cousin was on a team, a senior on a team that we ended up playing in the semifinals. So we scouted them the day before, and she was by far their best player. I mean, she was really good, but their team, other than her, weren't that good. So, of course, we had to put Christina on her, and she totally shut her down. We killed the team, and all my cousins came out of the stands looking at me like, what are you doing? You know, I mean, that's your cousin. But winning was very important to all the girls and myself, and especially Christina. There's a quote I love. It's not what you receive in life, it's what you give. And boy, did she give. At Edison, Christina was a great player, a great teammate, and a great friend. She later became a great teacher, a great coach, and a great mentor for all the children at Harbor Day. But her greatest accomplishment in life was that she was a great daughter, sister, wife, and mother. She was so proud of Matt and her children. Christina told me all the time they meant everything to her. I'd like to share some of the memories that some of her teammates sent to me these past few weeks. This is from Rachel Zeman. Christina taught me what it meant to be a captain, a leader. I feared her because I respected her. I never wanted to let her down. The valuable lessons I learned that year set the foundation for my next 3 years in high school and beyond. Playing college basketball, coaching college basketball, and now coaching high school basketball. Her twin sister, Bianca, said, Christina's leadership and court presence were just as big as her personality. I don't ever recall her giving less than 100% effort and demanding the same thing from her teammates. This was from Shauna Stewart. Christina loved to sing and dance. She was infectious and always happy. These moments made me feel young, free, alive, and in each of those moments with her, nothing else mattered. I will forever cherish these moments with Christina. The last one comes from Michelle Zylstra. My strongest memory of Patty isn't one in time, but a season. We spent the entire 1998 summer working on our game, challenging each other to get better. I may have been a little intimidated by her. She was pretty and popular and all the things I wasn't. We were teammates, bonded by a common goal of winning and surviving Coach White, she said, which probably was not very easy. We improved our basketball skills that summer and led our teammates to do the same. More importantly, I got to fully know, understand, and appreciate the kind, witty, and whip-smart Christina. Christina was also a hell of an athlete, a fierce competitor, and a great teammate. She led us to a Suns League championship her senior year. Christina never had a problem fitting in, showing up as a confident woman and making an impact right away. I'm certain as a teacher and coach, she influenced so many young people in the same way she influenced me, leading with compassion and a healthy dose of competition, helping others who may be shy, awkward, or unsure find their voice. I know I am so grateful that she did that for me. Thank you, girls. I love coaching girls basketball at Edison. Sorry. The girls work so hard for their teammates and for their coaches. One of the hardest workers was a girl named Christina Patterson. When your best players are your leaders and your hardest workers, you're going to have a great season. And your job as a coach is so much easier, and it's a whole lot of fun. She was athletic, she was quick, she could jump, she was driven, she was intense, she had a killer instinct, she was a lockdown defender, but more importantly, she was a winner. Sounds a lot like Kobe Bryant. I could see why Kobe wanted Christina to be his top assistant for his daughter. He saw himself in her. When I heard the Mambas team name her MOD, Mother of Defense, I felt like a proud dad. In basketball, Christina was a 4-time varsity letter winner, one of 3 girls in school's history to only be a 2-time Hall of Fame winner for girls basketball. She was Edison's Athlete of the Year in 1999. I love her, I will miss her, and she will always be a Hall of Famer in my eyes.
Our next words of remembrance will come from Jen Fenner.
Hi. My name's Jen, and I'm here to celebrate the amazing life of my dear friend, amazing mom, teacher, and coach, Christina. When Matt called me up and tasked me with the honor of remembering Christina, I really didn't think I could do it. I don't know how many kids are here from Harbor Day, but I get pretty verklempt when I talk about cool chicks in history. And so, because I'm a history teacher, I don't know if I said that, but for me, Christina's, see, there's the verklempt. Christina is one of those rad chicks that we all like to talk about, so I figure it's okay. As you may have gathered, I'm a teacher, a history teacher, which is how I first met Christina, or Matt first and then Christina. My early memories of Harbor Day are really of Matt, and we'd sit on the couches by the mailboxes in the faculty lounge. We'd eat lunch and laugh. Mostly we'd sit around and laugh at Gary Ski or Mike McCluskey, and many times Matt and Stockstill would begin a game of Name That Tune, which would end up with a song of the Beatles and Megan professing her love for Paul McCartney still. Then, what seemed like all of a sudden, Matt announced he'd met a girl. And within the year, he'd married her. And we wondered who this girl was and how she managed to capture Matt's heart so completely and so quickly. And he was so completely that he was willing to seal the deal and marry her straight away. All of us at Harbor Day would soon learn what a catch Christina was. And when I first saw Christina, I was amazed. She walked in, and I was like, she's beautiful. That's got to be it, right? That's it. Christina was really, really, really beautiful. But we all quickly realized there's so much more than meets the eye with her. So back at Harbor Day, Christina immediately became an integral part of the Harbor Day community. She taught PE, coached basketball to the first championship, was an advisor, played in faculty-student games, helped upgrade and run the advisory program, and even substituted for Matt's Spanish class on occasion. I could expand on all her professional accomplishments, but to me, she was so much more. In the beginning, our friendship was pretty topical. We had friends, we had fun, but we never, I lost my place, sorry. Where was I? We had fun, but we never really were teaching at the same time as we were alternating years having children. So I'd be there half a year, and then she'd be there half a year, and again, and you know, Ivy's the bonus, so Ivy wasn't in on that one. I got a hint at Christina's real intellect when Tara and I got the chance to work with her on revising the advisory program. And we got to know Christina on another level and saw her for what she was: confident, fun, organized, smart, athletic, just to name a few. She also had some of the fastest reflexes I've ever seen. And I was sworn to secrecy, so I can't really elaborate on this one, but I'll just say it involved a child, not mine, and a jacuzzi that had to be drained. But man, she was fast. In other words, we discovered that Matt had cornered the market on pretty close to the perfect woman. Up until now, the story seems probably pretty straightforward to you, and it was. We had a normal friendship, mom, work, life, just, like I said, pretty topical. We laughed, we talked, we worked together, and we had fun. But the most defining moment in our friendship came along with the help of the eternal wisdom of Faith Pickett. Faith saw our potential and put us in charge of the annual Harbor Day School White Elephant Gift Exchange held every year around the Christmas tree in the library. I'm sure many of you have been to a White Elephant Exchange. They're just titillating, usually boring, and nobody knows what's going on. So where in the world did Faith ever get it in her mind to find an MC for an event like this? I have no idea, but it was pure genius. But with a small request that began, "Hey girls, what do you think about emceeing the White Elephant Exchange?" An amazing and life-changing friendship was born. It all started with the idea to liven up the gift exchange, and Faith deep down knew that if you handed us a mic and some liquid libations, that we might become two of the funniest people in the world, and at least we were to ourselves. I think we often referenced ourselves as legends in our own mind. We thought then, and frankly I still think, that we could have been a great comedy duo. So we decided our comedy wasn't enough, and to jazz things up, we added numbers to draw, emblazoned at first with our dear friend Gary Ski's face, mostly as the butt of the joke. And we titled him the most interesting man in the world, with numbers that you pick out of a box. Each year we tried to outdo the year before. We added different members of the faculty to the number tags. Thank you, Duke, Mac, and Grogs. Headbands for all to wear, ugly Christmas sweater themes, elf costumes, fuzzy leg warmers, and this little number. This sequin blazer, just to add the right amount of class to the event. We eventually branched out, and while the white elephant was the bedrock of the holiday party, we knew we needed to add some real pizzazz because the blazer wasn't enough. And beyond all belief, Faith never said no, which in hindsight might have been a mistake because, as we know, children need boundaries, and we probably did too. Some of my favorite parties were when we turned the Moiso into a nightclub with a DJ, some karaoke, and I'm pretty sure we ended up bartending later that night with Katie Bowker, and handing out, instead of glasses of wine, just whole bottles. Another time we turned the Moiso into a casino with photo booth, prizes, and some more libations. And without fail, those nights always ended up with an after-party performance by the Tijuana Dogs. Anyway, the most important part is that without Faith's urging and her encouraging our madness, we would have never grown closer and closer, and our friendship would have never morphed. Here we go again. Into something deeper and more meaningful. I wish I could share all the fun stories with you all, the breakfast at our house, the girls' trip to the deserts, the lunches locked in our room, my classroom, the fun we had surprising Christina with a pimped out scooter when she blew out her Achilles, the lunches at school, the songs, the concerts, and the stories. Oh, man, Christina could tell a good story. We would die laughing. And it was even fun when our kids got sick. I know it's weird, but she She would send pictures of rashes, and I would send pictures, and we'd try to diagnose it like we were doctors. And I have to say I usually got it right, but it was fun in a sick sort of way. The obstacle courses our children made together, the swimming in their spa pool in their backyard, air shows at the beach, and Slurpees at a premiere of Bad Moms. And even the Bippity Boppity Boutique event with Penny and Lolo at Disneyland. I know I keep stressing how funny she was, but Christina was also one of the most loyal people I know. Maybe that comes from the camaraderie of sports or playing on a team and winning together. Sorry. Knowing what it takes to persevere through the tough times. Christina was a foxhole friend for me. And in case you don't know, foxhole friends are rare. But for those who haven't heard this before, a foxhole friend is one who you want in your foxhole. As if you were fighting in World War II at the Battle of the Bulge. There's another history reference, in case you didn't know. I have a few of these friends, but most are from playing sports, which is maybe why Christina fit the bill so well. But I know, we all know, that when we needed Christina, she was the one you'd call. She'd kick off her heels. There's mine. She'd put her hair up, she'd pull out her hoops, crack a joke, and jump in that foxhole if need be. She wouldn't turn and run. She'd have your back and would stay to defend you to the bitter end if you won or even if you lost. This is one characteristic that struck me about her, her loyalty, and how loyal she was to her friends and family, how she took care of everyone, all of us, no matter what. So how could a friendship based on being silly, enormous amounts of fashion sense, and laughing transform from a superficial normal friendship to the one that would last forever? I don't know, but the ones that are the most meaningful are usually the ones you don't have to think about. They just happen. But here's my theory, and this is where I'm gonna get super choked up, so bear with me. She had one of the highest social IQs of anyone I know. What I mean is that she had the ability to read people better than anyone. She was magnetic, her personality was contagious, and people were drawn to her. It didn't matter who you were, from students to players, parents to coworkers, band members to fans. She had the uncanny ability to make you feel special, make you feel valued, and make you feel loved. Maybe it was because she didn't take herself too seriously. What she did take seriously, though, was making sure her family and friends were taken care of. I really feel it was her laughter and her positive outlook on life that drew all of us to her, and she was the glue that kept us all together. And she lived every day finding joy in the hot mess express of life that shows up at your door when you least expect it. We're all hurting and grieving, but as Christina knows, I fix things and she provides the support. So in my attempt to fix things, I try to think about what conversations she and I might have had if this had happened to someone else. We'd call each other, and Matt would pop up on the phone, on the speaker within a couple minutes, and we'd start telling stories. We'd share some funny story about how that person reenacted some silly activity. Then she'd impersonate the person with her supernatural ability to imitate sounds and accents. And finally, we would remember the amazing qualities that person had, like her laugh, her costumes, her quick reflexes, and the way she took care of her family. She would make sure that we remember, that we would laugh together, share stories, and of course, to never forget. Above all, she would want us to value and love each other for whatever each of us brings to the table, because that was what Christina was good at, finding the good in everyone and bringing us all together to have some laughs. Thanks.
Our next speaker will be Christina's cousin, Drew Girardi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Drew Girardi. I haven't been in this gym in a few years. I remember growing up watching my auntie play basketball here, and I think I remember, actually, I did lose Hakeem Olajuwon basketball card here, so that was a bummer. But anyway, so as mentioned before, I'm Christina's cousin, but to me, she was more than a cousin. She was my auntie, which some of you know, our family's half Filipino, or yeah, we're part Filipino, and auntie means, you know, older, big sister, and she was a great role model for me and someone that was always there for me. I will always remember she was always super competitive, which has been a theme throughout her life, but competitive in a way where you didn't want to just quit and stop, but in a way that pushed you and wanted to compete and be better. And that's one of the big things I appreciated about her. And you know, also probably the most important thing that I'll always remember is how important family was to her. You know, her husband, her kids, us, her cousins, her siblings, her friends. And she would, you know, do anything for us, be there whenever we needed anything. And my Kuya, we call him Kuya Beeve, Matt Mauser, her husband, mentioned in an interview after this tragedy how he'll miss the little things, and that really resonated with me because that's what I'll miss too. I'll always miss, you know, there were times we had before the kids when all the cousins would get together and we'd have a gift exchange among us and watch Christmas Vacation. I remember those, or when the time she randomly texts me and goes, "Oh, Kyrie Irving rolled through to work out with Kobe," or Giannis rolled through, and I just felt great because she thought about me. And she was always the first to respond whenever I put together a family fantasy league or March Madness, and she'd always volunteer her house to have a draft party and stuff like that. So I always remember the little things. And so this celebration of life, I feel, holds two purposes. It's to obviously celebrate her life and remember, but it's also for us to help us heal. And a few words I have on that aspect is, it is my belief that the spirit lasts forever and that our body is just a glove. And so that being said, her soul lives on forever and her legacy lives on in all of us, and specifically her kids and her husband and her family and her friends. So we got to continue that legacy, and you know, legends never die, and my auntie was definitely a legend. Thank you so much, everyone.
Before we have our video tribute, we'd like to hear from Joy Patersa.
Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joey Paterzo. I'm the youngest cousin out of all the grandchildren. First it goes my Kuya Matt, and then my Auntie Christy, and then there's a good number of us, and then there's me at the very bottom. What can you do? But by nature of that, I had the tremendous opportunity to watch all of my cousins grow. From a third person's perspective, I got to see them become the people that they would become. Sometimes I felt left out. They would always be able to go on the big kid rides before I could. They were always able to go to places and do things that I couldn't do. But in that position, I get to watch so many of their successes. Sure, some failures, but so many successes. And one of my favorite people to watch growing up was my auntie. To see the person that she became, the mother that she became, the friend, the daughter, the niece, so many relationship titles that you can think of in your mind. I got to watch her develop into those things. And for the past couple weeks, I've been trying to think of all the different stories in my head of her. And as my cousin Drew was saying, there's just so many little things. And the one that always keeps coming to my mind, and as Drew was saying, we have an extremely competitive family. And over Thanksgiving, we were playing basketball at my Auntie Gloria's house. She has a little half court. And I was too young to be able to play. And to be honest, even in this day and age, I wouldn't be able to be competitive enough to play with any of my cousins, especially my auntie. And I was watching them all play, and there was some scuff underneath the basket. And I just see her come out. Her finger's crooked. She's obviously in pain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? And she just, without even thinking, runs over to her husband, Matt, my Kuya Beeve, and she says, Matt, I want you to take my finger and put it back in place. And you picture me, I'm a kid, I'm really young, and I'm thinking, well, honestly, my first thought is, okay, my auntie could kick my butt to kingdom come. But then I thought to myself, wow, she's tough. Not only is she tough, but while I was watching her play that game, because he put it right back in, she went back in and just competed with the best of them. And I was thinking in that moment, she plays that game tough. She plays it to the best of her ability, she plays it hard, but at the same token, she plays it gracefully. And, you know, standing here now, I can't help but to think that's how she lived her life. In everything that she did, in all of her relationships, from being a mother to being a friend, she lived life tough. She lived it with passion, and she did it the best of her ability. And I see that so evidently in her kids. One of my favorite things is whenever I get to play with Penny, Ivy, and Tom and see them grow up. We'd always be playing, and my auntie and my Kuya Beav wouldn't be there. And didn't matter what we were doing, as soon as you heard that doorknob turn and the door creak open and her face pop out, the kids would all just drop what they were doing, run to her, open arms with love. And that has always stuck with me. And it's always something that I love to sit back and observe from that third-person perspective that I was talking about. And so if you go on Ask.com, it says that the average person meets 10,000 people in their life. And by that nature, if you affect the lives of 10 people, and those people affect the lives of 10 more people, and so on and so forth, for 5 generations of people, you will have affected the lives of over 1 million individuals. And so take a moment, look around, look how many people my auntie has affected, and think about how that will compound upon itself. And though she's physically gone, she's never forgotten. And as my cousin was saying, she's more of a legend than I think we'll ever know. And so I encourage you, live how she did. Tough. Live life hard to the best of your ability, but do it gracefully. God bless, thank you.
In all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
It's not true. Tell me I've been lied to. Crying isn't like you. What the hell did I do? Never been the type to let someone see right through. Maybe won't you take it back? Say you were trying to make me laugh, and nothing has to change today. You didn't mean to say I love you. I love you, and I don't want to.
She keeps a Moet Chandon in a pretty cabinet. Every cake, she says, just like Marie Antoinette. Building a remedy for Khrushchev and Kennedy. At any time of invitation, you can't take caviar and cigarettes, well versed in etiquette, extraordinarily nice. She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Anytime. Recommended at the price, insatiable and appetite. Wanna try? Complications, she never kept the same address. In conversation, she spoke just like a baroness. Middleman from China, but down to gate, she'll find out. Then again, incidentally, you're that way. Perfume came naturally from Paris, because she couldn't care less, fastidious and precise. She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind.
tears from the start. On and on the rain will say how fragile we are, how fragile we are.
Don't ever ask me why I never say goodbye to my love. It's understood. It's everywhere with my love. My love does it My love does it good. Oh, I love. Oh, my love. Only my love does it good to me.
Our next words of remembrance will be coming from Ashley Nelson.
Hi. Thank you for coming here today to celebrate the life of our beautiful friend Christina. For those that don't know me, my name is Ashley, and Christina has been one of my best friends for over 25 years. When Christina's brother Matt asked me to speak today, I was absolutely terrified at the thought, how could I sum up our beautiful Christina in these few minutes? But what an honor, how could I not? Christina would be so happy to see all your faces here today. It means at some point you touched her life in some special way. That's what she did to everyone she met. She was special. Christina was smart and kind and witty and thoughtful and so funny. She could light up a room with her beautiful smile. She was always down for an adventure. When we were 16, she decided she wanted to learn how to drive my stick shift. We missed 5 cycles of green lights. She couldn't figure it out. The cars behind us were all honking, and we were just crying, laughing so hard. What I loved most about Christina was her unfaltering ability to love. She loved her friends and family with her whole heart. If you were lucky enough to be her friend, you knew that she would do anything for you. If you called, she would always answer. If you asked her to show up, she would always show up. She made friendship a priority. You could count on Christina for anything, and she always did it with that big, beautiful smile. Christina took the most pride in her family and the life she made with Matt and Penny and Thomas and Ivy. I remember each time she got pregnant, she would send me a picture of a positive pregnancy test and say, "What does this mean?" She loved being a mom, and I know wherever she is always looking over you guys. She loved you so much. You were her pride and joy. While Christina's death was sudden, her life was nothing short of spectacular. If she were with us here today, she'd be smiling and saying, "Where's the after party at?" She'd be telling some quick-witted joke to make us forget our sadness. She wouldn't want us to be sad. She would want us to remember all the fun we had, all the jokes we told, the secrets we shared, and all the memories we made. Eulogies are usually the last public words of remembrance spoken of our friend, but I promise these won't be the last. We will remember her forever as Christina the wife. She is a mother, she is a daughter, sister, granddaughter, niece, and she is a friend, and that's how we'll always remember her. Thank you.
Next up will be her cousin, Erin Gerardo.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here this afternoon. My auntie, she was a beautiful girl. She was a beautiful woman. That smile could light up a room, huh? She was so many things to so many people. She was mine and my cousin's aunties. She was a niece, a mother. But to me, she was more than that. She was my rock. Whenever I would get relationship trouble, get a new job, going through struggles in my life, she would always be the first one I would call. I'm sorry. The best thing I loved about her was that she didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. She always told me what I needed to hear and told me what I should and should not do if it was or was not a good idea. She always left me with words of wisdom, but would always tell me no matter what I did, that she loved me. And I loved her with all my heart. We had a very special relationship, my auntie and I. At Christmas Mass, she chose me to go take her outside to watch Penny and Tommy so we could get away from the Mass for a little bit. Good thing I'm not speaking tomorrow, huh? But in these times was her and I started having these between me and you conversations. And she'd always started off, you know what, just between me and you. And we'd talk about everything. We'd talk about the family, things that made us angry, things that got on our nerves. But it was always just between me and you. Once I moved back from Fresno, I lived up there for quite some time. And I moved back, and me and my auntie made it a point to kind of try and have lunches once a month, as much as we could. We'd still have these between me and you conversations, and sometimes we'd even let Beaver tag along. We wouldn't tell him all the juicy details, just enough. She had a great life. She had a beautiful family, beautiful kids, loving husband. And I know that she would have done anything for any of us. I remember when she got the job with Kobe, she called me, did you hear about my new gig? No. She kind of just tells me about it, tells this whole 5-minute story to the lead up, and she goes, well, moral of the story is, I'm Kobe's new assistant coach. She was living the dream, right? From what I knew about my cousin, to her, coaching, that was just extras. That was a bonus to her, because her dream was starting a family. That has always been her dream. And when I look at you 3 little kids, I see your smile, I know that she's still here. I want to take you back to back when I was in high school. Beaver and the Tijuana Dogs were playing a show in Lake Arrowhead, and they let me tag along, and this was back, we were burning CDs, and they were making a playlist for the drive up. 2 of these are some of my favorites to this day, Ain't No Fun by Snoop Dogg, and Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You. And I watched those 2 from the back seat, looking in each other's eyes, singing and smiling, and that was the moment I knew that you made her dreams come true. I don't think my favorite things about my auntie were her smile and her voice. Her smile was bright as the sun, but her voice, when she spoke, it was so captivating. You just had to stop and listen. When she told a story, you dropped everything you did just to hear her speak. Whether it be telling Tommy to tie his shoes, you're like, well, maybe this is going somewhere. Let me see if there's a moral of this story. But you couldn't let a chance like that pass up. But my favorite thing about her voice was that you could hear her smile when she spoke. You could hear it. The way that she would open the door and I would come over, she'd say, "Hi, Roni," and give me the biggest hug. And I think that's what I'm gonna miss the most, just between me and you.
Our next word of remembrance will be coming from Christina's brother, Jay Marash.
It's crazy to be here again. I thought after I left Edison, I swore, I was like, I'm never coming back to this place ever. Well, sometimes God has other plans, huh? Well, I hope Christina's here with me. I'm sure she is, because I really don't know how I'm gonna say my speech in front of all of you here today. But for those of you who don't know me, I am Christina's younger brother, Jay Marash, the youngest of three. She was my half-sister, but I loved her just the same. I want to first start from behalf of all my family by giving a tremendous thank you to you all who showed up to honor my sister's life. She was a friend to many, and the proof is right here in front of me. She certainly was a great friend to me and my brother Matthew. It's strange, but as I started thinking about this speech, I had difficulty remembering the big moments we shared together. I was even ashamed to admit to myself that I couldn't think of major defining moments. All I could think of were these little events, these little memories of relative insignificance. I said to myself, Jay, how come you can't remember anything truly impactful between you and your sister? You know she'll find a way to kick your butt in the afterlife if you don't do the speech well. Well, despite the pressure I put on myself, all I could think of were those little things. Playing old school video games and cheating in order to win. Her pinning my 5-year-old self down to administer the tickle torture test. Us dying of laughter at dumb YouTube videos. Quoting the entirety of the movie Caddyshack by heart. And even her yelling at me when I most definitely being a jerk. But as these words finally started to flow on my computer, I realized that life I shared with my amazing auntie was not defined by huge chapter markers, but by a plethora of small recollections. In fact, memories of all the game show fail videos we laughed at together will be cherished forever. And it was actually right here on this court that me and Aaron, who last spoke, would make fart noises so the other team would miss their free throws. Those memories are definitely going to be in my thoughts forever. Furthermore, and I guess more importantly, her impact on my soul is what will stay with me throughout my lifetime. Her legacy for me lies in her superhuman ability to relate to everybody, and truly, I mean everybody. Now, no one needs to tell you that my brother and I are very different people, but she knew how to relate to us as if she was just like the both of us. Like an empathetic chameleon, she adapted to my dark humor and cynicism towards the world and everything in it. She was my confidant when I needed a vent about everyone who annoyed me at the time. And I guess they annoyed her too. She was there for me when I was living in the insanity of my mental illness. Now, when you live with bipolar disorder, it doesn't really feel like not many people could understand you. But that wasn't the case with Christina. The beautiful thing about Christina was that she always had the time And even though she was probably the busiest woman on earth, somehow she would find time for you. That was what made her amazing. And not only would she find time with you, but I guess as we found out in these other speakers, it's if she actually lived the life that you live. She had this incredible compassion for everybody because it almost felt like she was everybody. It is her compassion for people and her behavior around them is the lesson that will perpetually I will carry with forever. Now that I'm not sick anymore, I promise to treat people like she treated others, the same way the Apostle John wrote in his first letter, telling us to love not with words, but with actions and truth. She was the epitome of that. She always put her loved ones before herself. And in the spirit of that love, I want to conclude by offering all of you the spiritual and philosophical epiphanies she and God have given me during this difficult time. First and foremost, we should all consider ourselves incredibly blessed and privileged to share Christina's life. She left an indelible legacy and had a tenacious attitude on and off the court. I couldn't be more proud. My family could not be more proud, and I'm sure as your friends, you cannot be more proud of the person that was Christina Patterson. Secondly, God is extremely merciful, and since he has suffered right here along with us, his presence is even greater in hard times like these. You have all shown so much support and love to me and my family, and some of us, we don't even know you. Language really is too limited to show my gratitude. Finally, I don't believe Christina has really left us. In the aftermath of Christina's death, I have been meditating on a phrase written by Ernest Hemingway in his novella, The Old Man and the Sea. It says, "A man can be destroyed, but not defeated." And if you think about it, I find that sentence applies directly to my sister. Look at all of you sitting here today. You have all been touched in some way during her incredible life, and she made a permanent impact in your hearts and memories. Look what happened the week after her death. Who was more deserving than Christina to have her legacy shared throughout the world? I can certainly look into the faces of my nieces and my nephew and see shades of her face staring right back at me. She is in them. She is in me. She's in my brother. She is in my mother. She is in Marty and everyone else in our family. And most definitely, she is in you. She lives on in the Mamba sports teams, and she lives in this very gym where she played some of the best basketball in this school's history. So yes, the helicopter crash may have destroyed her body, but she will never be defeated. Thank you.
We now have a hula tribute from Christina's cousin, Austin Matro.
Whose love I wear upon my chest. This is my gift of love for you, from this land that has nurtured me, 'cause it remains here in my heart, cared forever by God. Here is my love for all of you. Nake aku ay malamamau, e aku aloha ya oko. Here is my love for all of you, all of you. Nake aku ay malamamau. Here is my love. E aku aloha. Here is my love for all of you.
Hello, there we go. Matt, you're up.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Boys, you did a great job up here. Christina's nephews, cousins. So proud of you. Jen Fenner, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's not easy, and you did a fantastic job. We have a lot of thanking to do. The first thing I want to do is thank Edison High School, the principal, Miss Jennifer Graves, for allowing us to do it here. This was such an important place for both of us. I remember one time we came to pick up Jason, Christina's little brother, from wrestling practice when we first started dating. And we walked through the office. I wanted to show her something. And there's a beautiful display of all the Hall of Fame athletes throughout the years. And I'm on it. And I go, hey, Christina, I want to show you something. This is before we really got to know each other. I mean, it'd been like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And I go, look, right there. I won't even say the year. I go, 19-something, Hall of Fame for swimming. She goes, oh, that's great. I said, yeah. She says, that's me right there, and right there. So Edison is very important to us, especially to her. She was actually Athlete of the Year, which I wasn't even close to being. I want to thank Bruce Belcher. Bruce, you were my favorite teacher of all time. And you were passionate when you spoke. I was in your history class, and I took a childhood development class, which is really going to come in handy. And you inspired me at an early age to not only become a teacher, but to be a passionate man in whatever I did. I want to thank Dave White, Dave, you did a fantastic job speaking today. I know how close you were to Christina, and I want you to know that, where are you? I want you to know, Dave, that you forged Christina to becoming not only the athlete that she was, but the person that she was. And all the things that you taught her here as her coach, Kobe recognized for being his assistant coach. And it was so obvious how well prepared she was when he asked her. I want to thank my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers, and my sister who have been there during this incredibly challenging time. I want to thank Christina's amazing family, the Filipino Mafia, her aunts, her Uncle Joe, her grandmother, her dad's wife, her mother's husband, Mike, Gloria, Arlene, Joe, Matt, Jason, Sean. Forgive me if I forgot anybody, but Drew and Aaron and the boys, you guys, Joey, I'm going to need your help from here on out. This is not going to be an easy task, raising 3 kids. So I appreciate your just being here for me. I want to thank Ted, his staff, for putting this whole together. Ted is my sound guy, go-to whenever we have a big concert. I called him and I said, Ted, I need you, and he did this for free. So thank you, Ted, from DJ&E. I want to thank my musical partners, Dave Murdy. Dave, you allowed, through your musical talent and accepting me as just some random guy who asked you to be in a band 20-some years ago, you allowed us to live a very good life as a musician. And I want to thank Pete for being there for the last 8 years. I want to thank the lovely Carol Hatchett. You did such a wonderful job singing. Carol's down here, and she's Bette Midler's background singer, as you could probably see. She's an amazing talent. I want to thank the lifeguards, my family, my second family, one of my first families when I was growing up. I want to thank the police for being here, my ex-lifeguard buddies who are now policemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for protecting us from the media a couple weeks back, parking right in the back of our cul-de-sac and just kind of fending off news vans. I want to thank Harbor Day community for being here. I want to thank the Haas community, where my son goes. I want to thank the Sowers community, where my daughter goes. And I want to thank Resurrection Lutheran, where my little one goes. I got a lot of carpooling to do. And I want to thank my kids for being patient with Dad. How do you summarize? How do you summarize the love of your life in a 5-minute speech? How do you explain the nuance of a smile, the tone of a voice, the touch of a hand? How do you explain love? It's not a tangible thing. It's basically just a feeling, an intuition. When it's recognized, you surrender to it, and it pulls you in. Christina pulled me in. From the moment we met, I was spinning in her orbit. We met at that upstanding Huntington Beach landmark known as Hurricanes. July 11th, 2004, around 8 p.m. The Tijuana Dogs were playing an afternoon Sunday show, and I was standing at the counter trying to get paid, which if you've ever been in a band, trying to get paid at the end of the night takes a while. Every time I see Christina now, since her passing, it's always in slow motion. And if you've ever seen the movie Fast Times at Ridgemount High, as she approached, it's that wonderful scene with Phoebe Cates as she's getting out of every teenage boy's dream. As she's getting out of the pool, and you hear the cars play, "Life the Same, I'm moving," and it's all doot, doot, doot. And I just remember, and she came walking up, and I looked at her, and she was looking right at me, and I kind of went. She said, "Hi, Matt." I said, "Hey." I said, have we met? And she says, "Yeah, a few times." I guess I was in a haze those days. And we started talking, we started flirting, and I realized that we had a lot in common, and we had spoken before, I just hadn't remembered. And she said, as flirtatious conversations go, she said, "Well, what's your type?" And I looked at her and I said, "You're my type." And that was it. I knew, just kind of. And so I said, "Well, I'm going home, we're done, but if you're not doing anything later, here's my number, give me a call." So she called, and I returned back, and I picked her up, I gave her a ride home. We went to another fine establishment, Del Taco. So for all you Edison folks, remember, used to be Noggles. And we sat in that parking lot and we talked. And as we started to kind of get to know each other, the song came on the radio. And as a musician, I recognized songs and stuff. And so one song was my favorite. One of my favorites growing up was a song by Hall & Oates, "I Can't Go For That." And the bass line kind of goes, right? I said, "Isn't that a great bass line?" I said, "Do you know that Michael Jackson actually stole parts of that bass line for his song Billie Jean?" She goes, "What are you talking about?" No, listen. She just started cracking up. She goes, this guy's a freak. And I remember her, she just had this laughter. And I remember the first time I heard her laugh. It was sincere, it was pure, it was honest, and it was, to me, absolutely beautiful. And I later realized that that was a moment. I didn't even know it at the time, but I realized that that's when I fell in love with her. In addition to being beautiful and all those other things, that, her mom had taught her that the most important thing is her inner beauty. And that's what I recognized. I didn't realize it. A little later on, we'd been dating a few months. It was around November, and she'd come back from a girls' trip from Palm Springs, and my mom and I were having lunch at Mimi's Cafe. These places are going to owe me some residuals. And she walked in, and we'd been dating, about 3 months, and she came walking in, and she just was so beautiful. She, like, wherever she was, she radiated. It's like slow motion coming at me, and I realized, I said to myself, God, I think I love this girl. And it was the first time that I'd ever felt that. And she got up to go to the restroom halfway, and my mom looked at me. She said, "If you let this girl go, you're just stupid." So I thought about it, and I said, yeah, I better do something. So we went right to South Coast Plaza, and I took her in to Zales. And I looked her in the eye, and I said, "Pick one." And she looked at me, and I said, "Will you marry me?" She started to cry, and I started to cry a little bit. And she said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm sure." She goes, "It's only been 3 months." I said, "I'm sure." She says, "Well, I'll marry you, but I'm not picking a ring from Zales." So we went to another place a little later on. We actually ended up going to Disneyland that night and rode roller coasters. In the beginning of our marriage, the adjustment to married life was a bit rocky for two fiercely independent people. Christina at first was a bit of a puzzle I had to figure out. But over time, our disagreements were important. I was able to get a better understanding of her fears and her vulnerabilities, and she understood mine. That's what you do when you love somebody. She softened my heart. She taught me that a sincere apology was much more powerful than a cutting word. The most important thing was to protect my wife's heart, and Christina gave me the roadmap on how to be kind. In 2007, we found out she was going to have a baby. It was the same day that Barry Bonds broke Hank Aaron's record for the most home runs. And as the ball went over the fence, Christina turned to me, and as I was cheering, I said, "Oh my," she says, "I'm pregnant." I was looking at the TV and looking like, "What?" She goes, "I'm pregnant." 2 years later, or that's a little later that year, we welcomed Penny Rose in 2008. A little bit later, we welcomed 2 years removed Thomas Ray. We like those NASCAR names. In 2015, Christina snapped her Achilles while playing in a basketball league. She couldn't move for about a month and was basically completely immobilized. She was bedridden. Ivy arrived 9 months later. We called that summer the 2015 Christina Mauser Knocked Up and Disabled Tour. We went everywhere. We took trips, day trips. It was just a beautiful summer. We were both off from work, and we ended up going to Disney World. We got the front of the line on every ride because she had a bad Achilles. We put her on the little scooter, and the kids would ride in the back. We had so much fun. She would get us to the front of the line. She'd say, "I'm pregnant and my knee, and I have a bad leg. Can I get to the front?" They'd say, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem." And we'd just get there, and then she'd bow out, and we'd ride. It was wonderful. But one trip in particular is we drove the coast of California. We started Santa Barbara, we did the Missions, and we went to San Luis Obispo, we did Hearst Castle, we ended up Monterey, we did the aquarium, and then we finally ended up in San Francisco. Christina had a boot, she was pregnant, and I remember one time we wanted to see all of San Francisco. We really didn't want to miss. And you can't park in San Francisco because it's like $80 just for a parking spot. So we left our car and we walked everywhere. And at one point we were walking up to see the Coit Tower. If anybody's been there, it's up pretty high, and you gotta get up there. There's no driving. And I just remember this vision of my wife. She's got a baby in her belly, a baby in her arm, a boot on her leg, and a backpack on her other arm. And I remember this movie called Cool Hand Luke. And Paul Newman plays this tough, kind of cocky prisoner, and he's in a fight with this big guy, George Kennedy. And every time George Kennedy hits him, he gets knocked down, but he gets back up. And he gets knocked down, and he gets back up. And I remember looking at my wife. She looked horrible. Her head was turned, she was sweating, but she never looked horrible. She always looked beautiful. She just wasn't dressed to kill. She was at war with the streets of San Francisco. But I remember in that moment looking at her, and it was so much different than the Phoebe Cates thing. But it was even more powerful because when I looked at her, giving it everything she had just to get to the top of the stupid Coit Tower, I knew in that moment that I absolutely adored this woman. The last 3 weeks have brought me to my knees, and I've been stuck at times in the darkest places that the human being should have to go. Shouldn't have to go. Having to tell your babies things no parent should have to say. And when you're in those dark places, you look for things that give you peace, that give you some kind of answer. And I remember the qualities that my wife embodied. She was honest. She was authentic. She was completely real with everybody. And she was kind. She was all of those things, and she lived them every day. All those things she represented have given me strength during this unbelievably challenging 3 weeks. I want the world to know, and I want you to know. It's important to me that you know how much I loved her. I loved her to her core. Please keep her in your memory and the things she represented. We are going to need your strength. We're going to need to be strong for each other. I want to thank you on behalf of our family for all of your kindness. It really makes a difference. I miss you, Christina. I love you, and I will always love you. Thank you.
Before our final musical performance, I would like to let people know that obviously there are refreshments outside for everyone. And if those of you that want to continue celebrating Christina's life, at Mama's on Beach in Atlanta, there'll be a space for us and some appetizers if you'd like to continue the afternoon over there. On behalf of Edison High School, thank you all.
In times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be. Broken-hearted people living in the world agree there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there's still a chance that they will see there will be an answer, let it be. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. So let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, just let it be. There will be an answer, let it be.
Thank you. We love you so much. Thank you. We love you, Matt. We love you, family. Thank you so much.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams.